Have you ever poured your life into a job, arriving before dawn, burning the midnight oil, volunteering for every extra shift, only to watch someone else, less qualified and less committed, sprint past you on the career track? Well, we will reveal the main reason why you earn less than people like this, even if you work hard. From our earliest days, we've sold a simple story. If you grind long enough, the world will bend to your will. Good deeds beget good fortune. Hard work equals success. Obedience is honorable and humility sacred. But what if that comforting narrative was never true? What if it were a carefully crafted illusion designed to keep you in your place? Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche called this slave morality, a value system born of weakness, repackaged as virtue. It tells you to endure, to serve quietly, to find holiness in submission. But in reality, it's a psychological chain that binds you to a cycle of endless grind and meager returns. Because while you're dutifully staying late at the office, someone else is learning how to rewrite the rules of the game, positioning themselves in networks, wielding influence, and controlling resources. Now consider the paradox. The nurse who works a grueling 12-hour shift, treating dozens of patients with compassion, earns less in a month than a flashy TikToker hawking get-rich-quick schemes makes in a single day. The construction worker who wakes before sunrise, whose back aches by sunset, struggles to cover rent, while hedge fund managers skim millions with the click of a button. This isn't an anomaly, it's the system operating exactly as intended. Labor builds the world, but it doesn't own it. Value accrues to those who control capital, narratives, and leverage. If, as you've been told, suffering is noble, why are the most indispensable workers treated as disposable? Why does society preach the gospel of hard work, but funnel the rewards toward those who master the art of power? Nietzsche didn't condemn effort itself. He rejected the idea that obedient toil is inherently moral. He saw morality as a strategy, a weapon forged by the powerful to pacify the masses. In his view, true virtue arises not from meek suffering, but from the creative assertion of one's values. So, what does this power look like? It isn't the ruthless domination of others, nor the selfish pursuit of profit at any cost. True power, in Nietzsche's terms, is self-sovereignty, the ability to define your worth, to craft rules that serve your vision, and to navigate the system without being ensnared by it. It's the mindset Albert Einstein or Elon Musk deployed. Refusing to wait for permission, daring to reshape entire industries, converting rejection into opportunity. Waking up from the myth of moral labor is unsettling. You realize the world doesn't know fairness. It operates on leverage and scale. A server engineer can be replaced. An investor who controls billions cannot. Control scales. Physical effort doesn't. This isn't cruelty, it's the design of a socio-economic architecture. And while it may feel unfair, awakening to this reality is the first step toward meaningful change. But rejecting slave morality doesn't mean abandoning all ethics. The mistake many make is believing the only alternative to blind obedience is heartless cynicism. Nietzsche's vision of the Übermensch, the overman, isn't a rapacious tyrant. It's someone who transcends the morality of weakness without discarding integrity. The Übermensch uses morality as a compass, not a cage, marrying principle with strategy, empathy with edge. Once you see the truth, that waiting for virtue to be rewarded is a dead end, you can begin to author your own life. This doesn't require becoming callous, it demands strategic kindness. Learn when to help and when to walk away. Cultivate the discernment to say yes only when it aligns with your highest goals and values. Recognize that not every job merits your loyalty. Not every leader deserves your trust. Strategic kindness means negotiating for what you deserve, setting firm boundaries, and understanding that saying no can be as powerful as saying yes. It means building multiple avenues of influence, perhaps a side venture, a network of allies, or a platform that amplifies your voice. It means seeing power not as a trophy to be hoarded, but as a tool to advance your purpose. As you redefine strength, you'll face resistance. Those invested in the old narrative, managers who prize conformity, colleagues who cling to security, may label you disloyal or selfish. But liberation often begins with disappointing people who benefit from your silence. Courage isn't the absence of fear, It's the willingness to stand alone long enough to construct something new. Practical steps to reclaim your power might include mapping the system. You should identify where decisions are made and who holds influence. Understand the unwritten rules. Build leverage to develop unique skills. Cultivate relationships with mentors and acquire resources that others can't easily replicate. Shape narratives that help you learn to tell compelling stories about your work, digitally and in person, to attract support and opportunities. Create options that diversify your income streams, roles, or projects so you're not beholden to a single authority. Negotiate firmly to treat every exchange, salary discussion, project scope and responsibilities as a negotiation, not a request for mercy. Self-sovereignty calls for the deliberate practice of selective effort, selecting projects and partnerships that align with your unique strengths and future objectives. By focusing your efforts on high-leverage tasks, you become the architect of new possibilities and a more active, trustworthy toolbox. You must test, adapt, and leave behind rules that are no longer useful to you, such as transparency, generosity, and boundaries. Every decision you make represents a declaration of your values and a blueprint for respect. Cultivating a mindset of stable reinvention is critical for true liberation. Changes in power and systems evolve, so yesterday's rules may not apply to tomorrow's breakthroughs. Commit to lifelong learning, find mentors, and experiment without fear of failure. Each misstep contains valuable information that can be extracted and honed. This cycle of action and reflection encourages a strong, adaptable identity that prospers in spite of external chaos. The path from obedient labor to creative sovereignty is made possible with deliberate, value-driven choices that turn sacrifice into strategy, endurance into empowerment, and obedience into past creation. The question is not whether the system will reward you, but whether you are prepared to change the terms of the reward itself. These moves aren't betrayals of morality, they are acts of self-respect. When you treat sacrifice as a strategy, you stop burning out for someone else's dream and start fueling your own. You stop hoping someone will notice and begin ensuring they have a reason to. Remember, the story you grew up believing, the one about fair reward for fair effort, is a comforting fable, not a guarantee. Psychologists call that the just world fallacy, and while it soothes our anxieties, it also keeps us tethered to hollow promises. Real growth happens when you swap that fairy tale for a clear-eyed understanding of how success is earned. Nietzsche urged us to awaken, to confront the terrifying freedom that comes with self-authorship. That freedom demands responsibility, the responsibility to define your values, to choose your battles, and to wield power with purpose. It's not an easy path. It calls for introspection, resilience, and the occasional leap into uncertainty, but it's the route to true agency. So ask yourself, what if you stopped waiting for recognition and started creating it? What if you ceased to revere suffering as proof of virtue and instead honored your capacity to shape your destiny? What if you no longer saw hard work as an end in itself, but as one tool among many in the art of self-empowerment? The future doesn't belong to the obedient, it belongs to the clear, the conscious, the creators of their stage. It belongs to those who merge principle with power and empathy with strategy, who refuse to wait for a seat at the table and instead build their own. If you're ready to step out of the cage of moral labor, to blend ethics with edge, to write new rules rather than play by old ones, this is where it begins. Let curiosity drive you deeper, let courage guide you forward, let strategy amplify your integrity. Together, we'll explore the philosophies that don't just explain the world, so make sure to subscribe for more content like this.